Welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, powered by FanDuel Sportsbook. Josh Taylor, Chris Mueller here with you, taking your phone calls, 412-575-2600 on the Borders and Borders hotline. Chris, let's talk about the NHL schedule. The Penguins schedule has been released today. 56 games they have scheduled for the regular season. They're going to drop the puck on January 13th. They'll be in Philly playing 2 games against the Flyers in 3 days. We're going to see quite a bit of that format, 2 games in 3 days. One point in February, they'll play 3 games in 6 days between Jersey and also Long Island, facing the Devils and Islanders respectively. Chris, we talked about this earlier in the day, but I wanted to get your thoughts on this particular team and how this schedule could maybe benefit them and how it could hurt them over the course of the regular season.
Well, I think it's an interesting question that you pose, Josh, because I do think that there is definitely an upside-downside situation here. One, I mean, we all agree that in normal times, an 82-game regular season is just endless, right? I mean, it's just, boof, it's tough to watch that many games. So 56 should be better for them in terms of, a boredom factor if you're a fan, but also for them physically. It's just 26 fewer games overall for aging veterans. But playing that many games, 2 games, 3-day type situations, that's going to wear the legs of a Crosby and a Malkin, especially Crosby, who we know kind of is always on that razor's edge, right? If you get him and he's got that 19 and a half great minutes, awesome. He's one of the best players in the world. You get him to 22, 23 minutes and the workload gets heavier. You see him start to flag and fail a little bit here compared to his normal. So I think that's going to be an interesting sort of push-pull. You know who I think really has kind of a premium put on their performance? Jake Gensel, not that there isn't always one. And how about Zucker? Your younger guys, the wingers that are supposed to help you out a lot up in that top 6. I think those are 2 guys whose performance is going to be exceptionally important. This is also, by the way, Josh, I think you'd agree, usually like not a slow starting team, but they get tagged by people here for being a little bit disinterested at times, like they're a cat playing with their food the first 2 months of the season. It's a 56-game sprint. You can't afford to do that. If they want to make this thing work, they have to come out of the chute fast, and that has not necessarily been their custom.
I think that's a fair point. 412-575-2600 on the Borders and Boards hotline. We got a tweet from Ty on Twitter who says, do you think the Steelers might need to try more outside runs? They had some success going off tackle against Cincy. And Chris, you mentioned some of the combo blocks and traps that they had used during that game, and they did have some success. Could they stick with that going up against Indy?
I mean, I would like to see them try. I think this is the one thing that you have to say about that. It's sort of the caveat. That was still against the Bengals and no Geno Atkins, who's not what he used to be, but I mean, he's still a good functional NFL player. That's not against a good defense. The Colts are considerably better, especially against the pass, but also against the run. The stuff you were running against Cincinnati might well not work. I would try it. I don't ever want to run too far outside, though, with this team. Benny Snell is not a beat-him-to-the-corner running back. James Conner isn't. McFarland, who knows what he is at this point. I want to see the combo blocking. I want to see them try it, but I don't know if it's going to have the same kind of efficacy. In fact, I think you should expect it not to, given the quality of opponent.
I think the one thing that stuck out to me that I liked, and I wanted to see it from the beginning of the season, they showed flashes of it, but they went back to it against Cincinnati. We're seeing more running out of the pistol formation. I thought James Conner had success doing that, and Benny Snell had some success really, really early when they tried that as well. Let's go to the phone lines. We got Bernie in Ross Township. Bernie, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Hi, Chris and Josh. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Chris, you let Richie get one over on you last night. He was lobbying for Roethlisberger to be most valuable player of the league, not comeback player of the league. You didn't correct him. Him and Bob were lobbying for Ben to be the MVP of the National Football League.
Hey, Bernie, you know what day it is? It's December 23rd, and so while it's a Festivus kind of day and I could air my grievances at you for pointing that out, I'm going to instead turn it this way and say that in the season of giving, in the spirit of giving, 3 days prior to Christmas, I felt like giving Richie a free pass on that one. Is that fair? I mean, you caught me. You did. You caught me with my hand in the cookie jar. I was trying to be nice, though, because I've been very mean all year and been accused of being too mean about Ben Roethlisberger. And so I was trying to be nice there. I'll say this, in all seriousness, Josh, I don't know about you. John Clayton was on our show today. He is every Wednesday on the PM team. And he was very defensive, of Ben Roethlisberger. Not being defensive, but he defended him before the Buffalo game. He said, I still take this guy over Josh Allen. There's sort of a track record here. I had him on today. I said, John, Bills Mafia came after you for that one. How are you feeling now? And even he, a guy who's watched a lot of football and a lot of Steelers, he said, I'm stunned. I've not seen a fall off this swift and this dramatic in terms of how bad it's actually gotten in a long time, if ever. I mean, that we really are in uncharted territory with what Roethlisberger has done the last 4 or 5 games, and I know a couple of those are wins. It has gone off a cliff, Thelma and Louise style for him.
Well, to your point, and John Clayton's not alone. There's a couple guys working locally that have felt the same way, that actually voiced that opinion after Monday night. They felt like they hadn't seen Ben look like this ever in 17 years in his career, and they felt the same way, that from what we saw just a couple months ago up until this point, it's just something that they could not have foreseen, or at least they did not expect to see. Let's keep rolling. Fred in North Huntington, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Hi, guys. Happy holidays to both of you.
Thanks, Fred.
Yeah, two comments I wanted to make. The first thing was Villanueva. He had a horrible game in Cincinnati. I can't remember the guy who was going up against him, but I mean,
Carl Lawson. I assure you, he won't forget the name because Carl Lawson worked him over.
Agreed.
Oh my God, it was horrible. But what I wanted to call and actually comment about was, it's pretty apparent the Steelers have a glaring weakness at tight end. I mean, the Ebron signing was absolutely horrible. You look at all these successful teams, especially once you get to the Super Bowl now. Like last year as an example, you have Kelsey and George Kittle. The Steelers have nowhere near those guys. They never replaced Heath Miller, and I think you got to start to look
here's
at
another
some
thing.
point to
Here's
try to
another
get that
thing,
replaced.
though. So that's a good point. Both of those are good points, honestly.
Yes.
Is that Fred? I give Fred high marks there. Two good
Agreed.
calls right now. So Heath Miller was never going to be like a Travis Kelce guy, but man, I think you're appreciating now more than ever just the way he was just so solid in every way. He was a poor man's Kittle. Kittle's going to be in the Hall of Fame if he stays healthy. So will Kelce. I mean, that's the level of guy we're talking about here. Ebron is what he is. He's essentially a bigger, glorified wide receiver. But him dropping the ball, and then again, Roethlisberger threw him another pass in that Cincy game that I thought put him in physical peril. Throwing it up like that when the guy is triple covered, you're going to have plays happen like the one happened to Ebron. They have skimped on that position, Josh. Would you agree? They've skimped on that position. They haven't allocated a higher draft pick to it. And as a result, you kind of, you get what you pay for in most cases, right? And they're getting that level of performance.
I think that's fair, and I think it's also fair to say this. The first 5 or 6 weeks of the season, Eric Ebron did produce at a reliable rate. He was catching the ball when it was thrown to him. He was making plays in the red zone. And then somewhere maybe around a month ago, things started to change. The drops were coming. Everything just kind of fell apart. The missed blocks started happening. All of it kind of just all snowballed at the same time. And I think you're right. And history has told us that since Heath Miller has left, from Jesse James, after Jesse James pretty much took over, anybody after that, there has just been this snowball effect where the production and the execution has just not been consistent. We haven't talked a lot about baseball on the show. We talked about football and hockey. Our tweet of the night, Tri-State Office Furniture tweet of the night, is about baseball. This is a really cool message. Wendelstedt Umpire School says congratulations to Wendelstedt instructor Jeremy Rehack for being hired to the full-time MLB staff yesterday. Jeremy Rehack is a Murraysville native. He actually umpired his first game back in April of 2018 in Kansas City, but he's now a full-time MLB umpire. Congratulations to Jeremy. Looking forward to hearing his name called at some point during the Pirates broadcast or two, but a really cool honor for a local kid that made good. Got to take a break. We'll wrap up when we come back. Stick around.